Today on Voices for Change, celebrating women and the trailblazers who are leading the pack towards equality.
A different perspective, a different point of view, that's going to help us be better, whether that's from a fan standpoint or a competitor standpoint. So we want all the voices to be heard.
Plus, calling all Girl Geeks, the group creating a support group for women in tech.
All these women found their way to working in tech, and they need community. They crave the community.
And a historic heart transplant. The women who did what's never been done.
Women who look different than each other, who are in different professions. We're not all doctors, there's nurses, there's perfusionists, coming together to work as a high-performing team to accomplish a goal.
Welcome to Voices for Change. I'm Greg Lee. We're celebrating Women's History Month and discussing the critical role women play in society, as well as the work still needed to be done to reach true equity. In this show, we're sharing conversations with trailblazers in several industries. Jill Gregory knows about blazing a trail, making her own path, and speeding through glass ceilings. She's the Executive Vice President and General Manager of Sonoma Raceway, bringing deep experience in motorsports. Jill was recently recognized by the Women in Sports and Events, or WISE, named one of their Women of the Year. I spoke with her about the achievement, her work, and her message for other women. Jill, thanks so much for taking the time. You were appointed in 2021. At that time, only one of two women to lead a NASCAR sanctioned facility, and amid COVID. What does the last 2 years look like for you?
Well, it's been a ton of new experiences. I've been in NASCAR for a long time, but never at the track level. So that was a new learning curve. I think that trying to move back to California during the middle of COVID with all the restrictions and the good old days of the red, yellow, orange levels and things, trying to run an event at that time was pretty crazy, but I think it's been great. It's been exhilarating, and I love being back in California.
As you said, decades of motorsports experience, 14 years with NASCAR before you were here. Have you seen that industry change in terms of diversity, especially for women?
I have, and it's been really gratifying. Right before I left NASCAR, for the several years ahead of that, we had been making a deliberate effort to get younger and more diverse, to make sure that we were open to everyone. And it's great to finally see that pay off. There was a kind of a flashpoint in 2020 for NASCAR around the murder of George Floyd, and when we banned the Confederate flag, that really opened up the world of NASCAR to a whole new audience, and it's great to see the rewards of that.
Well, and that's part of the goal, right? And that's not just NASCAR, but other sports, to bring in new fans. How special is it for you to see new female fans in the crowd, or young girls in the crowd?
Well, it's always been great. NASCAR's always had a really strong female fan base, and the great news about NASCAR in terms of a professional sport is that women and men can compete at the same time on the same track. There's not a separate league. So that's been fantastic, but I think just the openness, the idea that everyone can enjoy the passion of NASCAR, whether you want to get behind the wheel or work at a track, it's been phenomenal.
You've received many awards in your career. Just last week, you were awarded a Woman of the Year from WISE. What does that mean to you?
One, I was surprised and shocked. Back here, we're here on the West Coast. WISE is a national organization, but based in New York. A lot of the sports leagues are based in New York. So to get recognized for efforts that my team and I really made to open up NASCAR to more women was really phenomenal. WISE is an organization that provides mentorship and fellowship to women who may not have another place to turn. And I think it was just a reward for all the work that we had done for many years trying to make NASCAR more open and welcoming to all diverse audiences, but particularly female. I
know you subscribe to the phrase, if you can see her, you can be her. So what is your message to young girls or women trying to get into the sports industry?
Well, I think one piece of advice is maybe don't limit yourself. So I think, in NASCAR, I think the preconceived notion is if I don't drive a car, then I can't be involved. And I think what you see here is that, half of our staff is female. There's career opportunities at the track. You can be an engineer, you can be a driver. There are many different paths that you can take. So follow your interest and see if there's a place for you, because I can guarantee you there's probably some career opportunities in motorsports and at Sonoma Raceway or in NASCAR that might not be as obvious as you would think.
This is perhaps a yeah-duh question, but how important is it that women have a seat at the table? You're at the head of the table, but to be at the table and to be part of that conversation about growing a sport.
Yeah, I think that any point of view or opinion that is different or that can provide a counterpoint to a way that something's always been done is really valuable. I think we try to have a wide array of different staff members involved in every decision that gets made. So I think just the more you're going to have a different perspective, a different point of view, that's going to help us be better, whether that's from a fan standpoint or a competitor standpoint. So we want all the voices to be heard.
Jill is in good company here in the Bay Area. Another woman in sports is leading the way with the Warriors. For 19 years, Nanea McGuigan has served as the Director of Basketball Administration and Player Programs. In short, doing everything to make sure everyone is at the right place and the right time.
When I started, there weren't any mentors. There were very few women that you could look to and say, hey, this is kind of what I'm looking for. Do you think you could help me? Or what do you think I could do to get in there? And now it's so refreshing because girls of all ages can see, even if you don't play, even if you're not wearing a jersey, you can make a serious contribution and be a part of something great.
Many fans were introduced to Nanea for the first time by star Steph Curry. Curry brought her onto the floor when the team received their championship rings last year. He handed her a ring and told her she deserves all the recognition for making things go. She has this message for women and girls everywhere.
Oh, I don't want to leave a legacy. I just want girls to know they can do this. Like, dream. If you dream about it, yes. Steph really believes in bringing women to the forefront and having little girls believe that they can do anything. And so I guess I would just echo that and amplify that it's that message for all girls to hear is so important. Yeah. You matter and you can do it.
Despite the representation we are spotlighting, the gender pay gap is still very real. March 14th marked Equal Pay Day, which represents how far into the year women have to work on average to make what their male colleagues did the previous year. In the U.S., women make about 82 cents to every dollar a man makes, the gap wider for women of color. According to recent numbers, women make up only about 25% of tech jobs in the U.S. That's the statistic Angie Chang didn't like. So in 2008, she began to host what she called the Girl Geek Dinners to create a community and support for women in tech. 15 years later, it has exploded into a huge network to provide for the next generation of women in the space. It's called Girl Geek X.
I want to sort of start at the beginning here. This started as Girl Geek Dinners in 2008 to help women network and find mentors. So tell me why you felt the need to start that.
Right. So I graduated from college with humanities degrees, and I loved to make websites. And I joined a startup and moved to Palo Alto from Berkeley. And I realized that there were so many people working in tech doing really exciting things, starting companies, working on fun projects, going to hackathons. But I was only seeing very few women on stage speaking at these events. And I was always, I don't want to say always, but oftentimes the only women in the room, working in engineering, working in product. So I wanted to find a place for other girl geeks like myself to meet together, have fun. So in 2008, I asked Google to host our first Girl Geek Dinner.
15 years, Girl Geek X has exploded. Thousands of women across hundreds of businesses. How proud are you of what this team has built from what just started as a chance to network?
Yeah, I'm really excited that we have such a good team. My co-organizer, Sukrutha, she started her career as a QA engineer. And she came to Girl Geek Dinners herself looking for inspiration. And then she realized when she came to Girl Geek Dinners that she had to do more. She's like, I was such an active person in graduate school. I went to SWE, and now in industry, I didn't realize that I had to dig in my heels and do more research and look and do more work. And only by coming to Girl Geek Dinners and then joining me as a co-organizer, she really found that drive within herself to push in harder. And now she's a senior director of engineering at Salesforce. So I think we've seen women be successful because they continue to find inspiration. They talk to women all the time across different companies.
The numbers are still low, especially for women and women of color.
Right.
So how do you hope that Girl Geek X can sort of turn the tide and change these numbers, as it were?
Right. So we do work with companies to help them come up with speaker rosters that are not all white and male. You know, the dreaded mantle. We definitely work with companies to make sure that their events are not just white and East Asian women speaking on these events. We are really working with them to have more representation. So that is a conversation we have with sponsoring companies on how to create the inclusive event to invite women of all, colors and stripes to your company. So a lot of people believe that you need a CS degree to get a job in tech, and I definitely don't believe that. I used to work at a coding boot camp for adult women, and I've watched women retool themselves and get jobs in technology from previous careers in mechanical engineering. Someone had a PhD in astrophysics or something different, and all these women found their way to working in tech. And they need community. They crave the community, and they come to us. We had organized hackathons, startup weekends, and ways for women to connect and create projects and teams and meet each other, and have mentors come in. So our mentors are often male and female, who are industry professionals who are coming in to mentor these women and girls at these events. And then later, we are growing these people's networks. So they now know girls and women who are in tech. So when they are hiring, they will say, oh, I actually know these people. Let me go invite them to work at this company. So I think we're helping make bigger networks for the recruitment and retention of women. And we have so much fun elevating these women and hearing from them and kind of seeing the role models that we don't see every day.
Growing up, I didn't really see representation of someone who was adopted, who is living with a disability.
A cause close to the heart. Coming up, we'll introduce you to the Bay Area woman using her platform to help kids like her. Plus,
representation matters, and seeing folks like yourself, be it a woman, a person of color, etc., in these underrepresented specialties is incredibly important.
a trailblazing heart transplant at UCSF. Coming up, we speak to the team of women who hope to set the stage for the next generation. Welcome back. Take a look at this, a selfie for the history books. This was taken inside an operating room after a trailblazing heart transplant. For likely the first time in history, an all-woman team performed a heart transplant surgery. One of the doctors realized it at the end of the successful 5-hour operation. I spoke with 3 members of the team about the moment and the message they hope it sends.
Dr. Fiedler, I want to start with you. You were the one, I understand, who looked up after this life-saving surgery and realized it was only women in this room. So just describe what that was like.
That's absolutely correct. So we did a heart transplant one day in December. Everything went great. We're finishing up the case and we're all just chatting. And I looked up and I said to Dr. Blake, hey, it's all women in this room. And we were all pretty shocked. We kind of scratched our heads and asked around if anyone else had been in an experience like this before. We all said no. And as a result, we said, why don't we just take a picture? It'll commemorate the fact that we all did this together.
That's incredible. Dr. Blake, I want to give you an opportunity because in that photo, the team obviously bigger than the one that we have assembled here, the nurses, the perfusionists. Can you talk about the other women who made up this remarkable team?
Absolutely. So I had a female anesthesiology resident. That was Dr. Jacqueline Meeser. In addition to Dr. Scrimger and Dr. Fiedler, we had women perfusionists. So her name's Ashley Riso. We had women as our nursing team. So we had, I'm not sure Risa's last name, but, and then our circulating and our scrub nurses. So everyone in there that was involved, we looked up and looked around. We were all females. Like, this is awesome. What a remarkable day.
It is remarkable. And Dr. Scrimger, I want to be clear for folks that you do not pick these assignments. These are random. So looking back, what does it mean to know that all of you were frankly part of history?
Oh, it's great. Yeah, it was absolutely a coincidence. I was just on call. The only one who scheduled the case and anything being there was Dr. Fiedler, and everyone else would just happen to be on call and happened to be joining her that day. So it's just remarkable that it happened. And it's really, I think we all feel lucky and very proud that we got to be part of such an event.
Dr. Fiedler, anyone that does a little bit of research on your career knows that you're no stranger to shattering glass ceilings. And I wanted to ask you, what can the medical field do better to support women like yourselves in these roles so that this isn't such a rare occurrence?
That's a great question. I think that we're doing a lot right now. There's a lot of visibility right now in diversity, equity, and inclusion in the medical field, and I hope that that continues on. Representation matters, and seeing folks like yourself, be it a woman, a person of color, etc., in these underrepresented specialties is incredibly important.
It would be lovely for us to have parity. But I think with this, we have new inspiration. We have people coming up in the pipeline looking at us and saying, well, I can do that too. And so I am hopeful that as we move forward, that we'll have more mentoring, more sponsorship, and more interest in bringing people into the pipeline, into medicine, into STEM even earlier, like going into high schools, middle schools, elementary schools, kindergarten. We want people to be able to see our faces and say, I can do that too.
For girls and young women that are watching this and interested in getting to be what you all are doing, what would be your advice to them?
Anything is possible. Anything that you set your mind out to, that you feel passionate about, that you love to do, by all means, go out and do it. The world is your oyster, be it medicine, be it another specialty or life choice. You can do it. And I hope that young women and girls see us as that type of inspiration. Even if it's not within cardiac surgery, it can be whatever field that they choose to do, that they can look at our group of women who look different than each other, who are in different professions. We're not all doctors, there's nurses, there's perfusionists, coming together to work as a high-performing team to accomplish a goal in a workplace setting that we all love and appreciate. I hope that that's the inspiration that people see when they hear about this story.
Now, the patient the doctors operated on is also a woman. She's the second from the left in this photo, taken at one of her post-op appointments. The doctors are happy to report she's doing well after the life-saving surgery. Alita Dameron is Miss Fresno County, and in the spirit of the Miss America organization, she's focused on serving others. The platform she chose, personal to her, raising adoption awareness for disabled youth.
I want to start by talking about the work that you are doing as part of your service and explain why this is such an area that is so near and dear to your heart.
Yeah, so I was adopted at the age of 1 from Xinyi, China, and diagnosed with a severe mixed bilateral hearing loss at the age of 3. And when you join the Miss America organization and when you're prepping for the competition, you choose a service initiative that's important to you, that you get to promote and talk about through your year of service. And when picking it, I had a hard time. I was thinking disabilities or adoption, and I thought I had to choose, but then realized that I am a demographic that isn't talked about much and that isn't represented. So I wanted to do that. And so through my year of service, I'm working with Holt International in Love Without Boundaries to hopefully raise awareness and help be a voice to children like me that don't have someone to represent them. When people are looking at adopting, special needs in the U.S. Refers to anyone who has a physical or mental disability, as well as people that are age 13 and up. And so a lot of times when people look to adopt, they're looking for healthy newborn babies that are like the average human being. And so growing up, I didn't really see a representation of someone who was adopted, who is living with a disability. And so that kind of brought to light the topic of wanting to be that person that I never got.
And I know you don't even like to use the word disability. You'd rather use the term disability, and that you're just different. And so describe why that is important and how it's been important in your own life.
I live my life through wanting to prove people that just because I have a hearing disability, I can do so much, and I have my hand in so many different things. I'm a horseback riding trail guide. I'm in the Miss America organization. I'm going to school for medicine. And so kind of proving to people that my disability is just a different ability. And it kind of, and like bringing that into it and showing how much people with disabilities are capable of, kind of attacking my service initiative through that door and kind of going through that and showing how people with autism are really good with certain things, and people with cerebral palsy, people with Down syndrome, and just kind of highlighting how capable people are is kind of how I'm trying to incorporate that into adoption and all of that good thing.
That's our number one priority: get as many kids playing, change as many kids' lives, get them to do something they wouldn't have otherwise been able to do.
Still to come, helping find tennis young talents. The program giving kids from all backgrounds a chance to play and grow. The issue of gender equity continues to be front and center in the sports world as female athletes fight for equal pay. A popular tennis tournament in California has led the way. The prize money, the same for men and women for years. And that's just one of the social impact efforts at the BNP Paribas Open.
Elena Rybakina is the champion. It's King Carlos who reigns supreme in California.
The world's top tennis stars put on a show in the California desert this month. 2 new champions crowned at the BNP Paribas Open in Indian Wells. While the action on Stadium 1 drew the most fans, it's practice court 15 where the biggest impact could be felt.
If they can connect with world tennis, with the concept that we go beyond tennis, and we support communities, we support young generations, we support diversity and inclusion, and at the core of what the bank believes in, it's sustainability.
A diverse group of young tennis players hit balls with some of the biggest names in the game. John McEnroe and Canadian star Felix Auger-Aliassime. The exhibition, part of the title sponsor, BNP Paribas Bank's effort to support the next generation of tennis players.
Tennis had this reputation to be kind of a sport for the rich, and I think that's not really true anymore. And with the help of people like BNP Paribas and the Academy of the McEnroes, and I think the Academy of my dad as well, kids come from everywhere, all backgrounds.
At the moment, what we can do is hope that we have sponsors like BNP that allow us the opportunity to pick, some of our best kids and really give them as many chances as possible to do something big.
The Team BNP Paribas Young Talents program partnering with stars in France, the U.S., Italy, Poland, and Belgium, and now Canada with Felix. The bank provides human and financial support to help young athletes, often from disadvantaged backgrounds, pursue the sport they love.
To really support the youth and where everything starts. I think it's crucial. It's going to give these kids a chance to grow, in a good environment. First of all, to become good people, and then hopefully to become good tennis players.
For McEnroe's Mac 1 program in New York, the hope is to give kids an opportunity to use tennis as a springboard to a good education like he got at Stanford.
The game's too unaffordable, generally, worldwide. So that's our number one priority, get as many kids playing, change as many kids' lives, get them to do something they wouldn't have otherwise been able to do, such as attend a great college.
Program alumni Stephanie Yakov is headed to Harvard in the fall.
It's huge. It's basically like being a part of another family. It's a great privilege, and I could have only dreamed of this moment, and it's finally become a reality.
Making them the winners of life, and these academy are as much academies of life as there are amazing training academies for tennis.
During this Women's History Month, Yakov is happy to see equality at the center of the tournament, including equal prize money for men and women.
Women empowerment is definitely a real thing, and just even like the pay gaps and everything just increase over the years. It's just becoming more and more equalized, and I feel like that's amazing, especially for women everywhere in sports.
With the tournament, the bank is marking 50 years of sponsoring tennis globally and committing to social impact. As part of contributing to the local community, BNP Paribas awarded scholarships to 4 local high school students, 2 boys and 2 girls.
Very talented, but obviously deserving kids, and we send them to the best colleges on the West Coast.
Taken together, the social impact programs and the world-class athletes helping to build what fans call tennis paradise. Organizers hoping to use the power of sport to create change on and off the court.
Diversity in terms of geographical origins, diversity in terms of culture, diversity in terms of skill sets, and the combination of the bank, tennis, and the values have been, I believe, very inspiring.
Inspiring indeed. Do you have a story you'd like to see featured on this show, Voices for Change? Send us an email at newstips@fox.com. We would love to hear from you. And a reminder, if you want to see previous shows or watch any of these segments again, just head to our website, KTVU.com, and search Voices for Change. That's our show for this month. Thanks as always to our guests for having these conversations, and thanks to the team who makes this show possible. And as always, thank you to you for watching. We'll see you next time.